I stay here, working here. I was born again in California Estate, in Nairobi. That is 30 years ago. Yes. And life with the Lord has been fulfilling. But the past years has just been vain. So my experience in the past, I did not stay a long time at experiencing what sin was or what pleasures were. I have experienced the Lord for more than three decades. So I can only tell about the things of the Lord more than I can tell of the past. After that time, I just stayed in Nairobi for a time, and I was going to church in the Dwarf Christian Fellowship in Kibera, and my father died along the way, so I had to come here and work here and live here. So that changed my destination or my locations, living from Nairobi to here, Kiambu. That time I knew about family media as more than a decade ago. I was just listening to the radio, and I heard preachers who could preach something that was entering my soul. So I decided to listen more and more to the family media. And in the course, I now became part of family media. I can remember this Kina Joyce Meyer by now, Joel Sunday. I listen to their sermons. He inspires my heart, and something deep. It goes deeper to the things of God, and I hear something entering. So that's why I listen every Sunday from 9. I heard from the radio, you can be a partner by giving through this number ABCD. So I wanted to share with the vision that the family media was doing. It was so easy to just give 100 and continue. The more I continued giving, the more I grew spiritually. Now I think I'm a spiritual billionaire, not bragging anyway, but because I have been giving and receiving spiritually, but not necessarily materially. I have been receiving spiritually, because I think people think that when you give, you have to expect material blessings. But for me, the Bible says that if you give, you prosper your soul, then the other side. So I love prospering spiritually. They are very satisfying, because at the end of the day, what I do, I have only one target. What eventually will I do with what I get? The little I get or the much I get? If I invest it into the family media, whether it's 50 shillings or 100, I'm so much satisfied. That is the only thing I do work for. I don't work because I want to meet my needs. No, I do work so that I can invest somewhere that will live longer, even after I die. We are not here to build houses and big cars. I believe as a Christian, we are here to bring men's souls to Jesus. And that is the only reason, and that is the only thing that is remaining in the world.
We invite you to become a partner with us. SMS the word partner to 20316.
The money we hand, whether it's 1 shilling, does not belong to us. It belongs to the Lord. So you'll be questioned, God will question you, how did you handle my money? So every shilling that comes into our pocket belongs to God. So it determines then where you are going to invest it. Whether the master will find it with a profit, or he'll find you have done nothing. So I would encourage somebody. This is something that you should do, and this is something that you have the reward. And now the good thing is, when you give to the kingdom, it does not matter how much you give, because the one who had 5 and the one who had 10, both of them received equal reward. So you can give 100 according to your ability. That is, if you have millions, you will not give 100. If you have 1,000, you cannot give 1,000,000. So according to your ability. So when you give, no matter how much, no matter how little, faithfulness is what God is looking for. So you can become faithful to family media by giving, and God will just give you an equal share at the end with the family media partnering. So it does not matter how big. This is what Paul said. I have planted the apostles, and others has watered. So watering to this kingdom, I think it's something one should do.
I'm fan of Family TV. I support Family TV. My brethren, ministers, we minister together. We can support Family TV because they are preaching the word, the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they are reaching many people. Where you cannot reach them, they can reach because they are all over the world. Let us preach gospel through the Family TV.
Mine is just to appeal to everyone to kindly support Family TV, do whatever you can, because it is the church that is coming home to you. So try and support them so that they can get to everyone out there.
Tomorrow on This Is My Story.
Munanitanga hii jina Kangai why? Akanijibu, wakati nilikuonjeka nikiwa 7 months, nilikuwa nimekufa, lakini mamangu akakataa, sijakufa bado.
Pauline shares a compelling testimony of how the Lord has transformed her life.
Kichwa ilikuwa inafunguliwa, inafungwa. Hiyo ndio nilimwambia nikujie. Nasikianga unakujianga mtu. Sasa mimi nikujie because my mama anatezeka.
That's on This Is My Story tomorrow at 9:30 p.m.
I would like to give a personal testimony of Family TV. I remember when I was in late primary school and early high school, I used to have a friend of mine who used to tell me about certain preachers that would come on a TV station called TBN. And I think at that time, Family TV used to air some of the programs from TBN. And I knew big names. That is the time I heard about John Hagee. I heard about Bishop Thomas Dexter Jakes, TD Jakes, and many other preachers. And I began to listen to them and to follow them. And in as much as I was not born again, these people started having a great influence in my life. And the only reason why that happened is because Family TV was on air. I am here to encourage each and every one of us that we need to keep Jesus on the airwaves. The gospel is free, but someone else pays for it.
During our time when we were growing up, the only station we knew that had Christian content was Family Media. So I remember watching Joyce Meyer, example of Joel Austin, Prince Derrick. I remember Prince Derrick on some program on Family Media. This is a station that really grounded us. Let's see Jesus continue to be spread, especially in this dying world.
And I just want to thank Family Media because Family Media came into this country when there was no really Christian either radio station or TV station. And those that grew up during my time, it was the thing that kept us going as we could listen to this wonderful music. I still remember a group that was called Out of Eden those days. Powerful, powerful music. So to a large extent, Family Media kept us grounded.
It's such an honor and a pleasure to have a platform such as this in a time when our world is so full of negative content and misleading content. Where you have YouTube and social media telling you different things to go different directions. But it's so nice to have a place that is safe, a place that can provide to be an anchor in your life, where you get to build our Christian faith. And so that's why I'm so grateful to have a place like this, Family TV. So guys, let's keep watching Family TV, bring your friends and your family.
To me, family represents hope. It represents hope, it represents purpose. And I know that that's something that the world needs, hope, purpose. And so your support will go a long way into extending God's hand to the people, locally, internationally. So support Family Media.
Agnes Wambui Kithinji. I am a mother of one. a son, Vincent Githinji. I live with my mother in this house, and I am also a mother to 3 orphans. And I have educated them up to university. 2 of them were from Tanzania, Farida and Nyati. And God has enabled me to take them through university because God has privileged me to be a mother, though I was a mother of 1, but I am a mother of nations. And I thank God for that. I was working with the Minister of Education, and when God called me to the vineyard, I decided to go. Like it was full-time, though it was not fully full-time. I have been doing evangelistic ministries here and there, and also I was ordained to be a pastor to the refugees. I've been visiting them in their camps, and that is what I do even today. Family TV came. It was a great blessing to me because whatever I was yearning for, to know many, many, many mighty men of God and small men of God, and to do ministry, I think Family TV was my answered prayer. Every day I go to the daily devotion. We used to be with James, nowadays we are with Mukaya. So I have to be there every morning, and around 11 there is a repeat. And also with Joyce Meyer. After Joyce Meyer, we have John Hagee. From John Hagee, we have we also have Sally. She is also giving us a good product. We also on Sundays we have Joel Austin, Bob. There are many. And they have a great impact in me, and especially Joyce Meyer. I have to make sure that I have finished everything to wait for the teachings.
For such a time as this, when the world is grappling with different challenges across various aspects of life, it is clear that we need to reach even more with the gospel. We invite you to become a partner with us. SMS the word partner to 20316.
It is only in partnering with family that you are able to reach the whole world, because family is not just in Kenya, it is in the whole world. And family is not a commercial TV. You will not see them advertising these funny Kimbos and what have you. They don't do that. They depend on us to preach the gospel. And because now God has given you an opportunity to give, why can't you give and see that your money is going to work for you? And if it is not, and it is not just money, we partner, we do a lot of things here in family. You can give your time, you pray, you wake up early in the morning, pray for the family, pray for the ministers, we need prayers more than money, because after praying, God will also direct you to give. And we give generously, and God will not ask you to give for anything that you don't have. God will give you, then you will give. And after giving, God will continue giving you, because your things will never dry up. Your pockets will never have holes. Whatever you give to God, He will return bountifully.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Motivation Monday, where we bring you challenging conversations and inspiring stories. I don't know if you remember the conversation that we had last week, but one of the things that the guest mentioned is this ability for one to be so aware of themselves, even within the working space. And I am wondering this morning, how well do you know yourself? If you are to sit in an interview and you are asked the question, so tell us about yourself, what would you say? Not in the sense that we are taught to say just for the purpose of passing the interview, but actually speaking deeply as one who is fully aware of who they are. Well, today's conversation is on self-awareness, and helping us with this conversation is Mr. Daniel Ayelabola, who's the Senior Programs Officer at Aspen, and I am looking forward to this conversation. So let's just get right in so that we may glean as much as possible. Mr. Daniel, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I've done a very rough sketch of who you are, you know, and, you know, if you're helping us with this conversation of self-awareness, it definitely means that you are aware of who you are. So kindly introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes, like you rightly put it, my name is Daniel Ayelabola, and I'm the Senior Programs Officer at the Aspen Institute, which is a 75-year-old organization.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, with footprints around the continent, but the actual international, you know, partners office was set up in Africa about 3 years ago. So I'm in the Africa office, obviously handling a lot of things and projects around the continent. However, I think within the context of self-awareness, there is a reason I am here. And you know, immediately after high school, I joined a group, very interesting group called Students Campaign Against Drugs at that time. And a lot of our work was around prevention. You know, because obviously young people are more predisposed to issues to do with alcohol and drugs and things. And so at that time, my volunteer work was, you know, I really enjoyed working at a Students Campaign Against Drugs, and, you know, were many young people, there was a lot of energy and so forth. And so it is in my work with young people and, you know, in prevention and thing, you know, we learned a lot about prevention science, and that is how this question of self-awareness came up. There are so many reasons why young people sometimes get themselves into, you know, wrong things and addictions. And one of the key things that we used to teach young people at that time was really about self-awareness. Yeah, so I believe it is on that strength. But even today, you know, I on a regular basis, I'm involved with the ropes ministry in my church, which is still young people. I'm not as young as those days, but but some of those lessons have stuck with me. And even beyond youth, as you progress in life, self-awareness is still very important. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So thank you for that. And so you have said it is important, but then the question is, why is it important? You alluded to, you know, for certain people, young people, there's the question of getting into all manner of wrong things if one is not aware of self. But what are the reasons then? Is this an important conversation, but also, more importantly, is one being self-aware an important thing?
It's very important in my view. And you know, I've been reading books. In fact, there was a very interesting article I read the other day about the, you know, what do you call it? The golden gate of escape. The golden gate of escape. And it really highlights the need for an individual to actually be in different situations, ask yourself questions, understand your triggers. What are the things that, because for example, the article talks about if you're in an argument and you, for example, with your wife, and you back them in a corner, obviously it is about, they will end up self-preserving, and it is at that point when you're backing them in a corner or you're not giving them a way out, you know what this is called, this golden gate of escape. That is now when the bad side of someone comes out.
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of the question you ask and why it is important, it's very crucial because it really forms the foundation of personal growth, healthy relationships, and really well-being. And it matters because, number one, when you're self-aware, and actually the question is, what is this self-awareness? It is really about understanding oneself at understanding your triggers, your motivations, your strengths, your weaknesses. It sounds very kawaida, but there's this tool we used to use those days. We call it the Johari window, and it's divided into four. You know, a window, it has 4 quadrants, and the first one is about you know, your open area. So this is what people know about you and what you know about yourself. And then there's the blind area. Blind area is really what people see about you, but you don't quite know about yourself. And then there's the private area, things that you really know about yourself, but either you don't want other people to know, but generally they don't know. And then there's this unknown, where we keep learning about ourselves on a regular basis. So it is very important to know you know, your motivations, your strengths, your weaknesses, because it helps with your confidence, it helps with your decision making, it helps you to know how to react in specific situations. So generally, understanding self is very important, and I believe even in our walk with God, in our Christian journey, it really even helps us in our prayers. Like, what are you praying to God about? How in your fellowship, in your discipleship, in your group of brothers or sisters, in your Bible study fellowship, how are you interacting with others? How are you seeking for help in the different areas of your life? So self-awareness is very important in that sense, because it really helps you grow, build healthy relationships, and really be intentional with your walk with Christ and in your daily walk.
For yourself, how did this look like? Like, what's your journey of self-awareness like? And would you argue that somebody can be fully self-aware, so to speak?
Well, I don't think so. I think we keep learning. You're married, I'm sure you know that, you know, what was when you got married sometimes evolves over time when children come. So I think God has created us that way. We keep learning about God, we keep learning about ourselves, we keep learning about our spouses, we keep understanding contexts differently. That's why someone who is more experienced would deal with things differently than someone who is less experienced, and so forth. So I think we never get to a stage where you say, now I'm self-aware. But I think that situation of staying humble, opening your heart to learning, always having that the attitude that there is a lot I don't know, and there is value in every interaction I have, is very important, especially for adaptability, for contextualization, and for growth. So for me, you ask what was really helpful in my journey. And I'm sure everyone has their own story. But like I said, this group I was involved in immediately after high school was really impactful in my life. Because when I think back and, you know, I try and reflect and see what was, you know, what was going on in my head in high school or after high school, I don't think I was very self-aware. Sometimes I talk to my wife and I see some of the deep reflections she had when she was in high school. I'm like, oh my, this was not me at all. So I think there are a number of things. I've tried to crystallize them into maybe 2 or 3 things. But I think what really worked for me was that and it wasn't this deliberate, but you know, I've just had to put it in English so that we understand. But I think at that time there were a lot of feedback loops for me. And for feedback loops, I mean either deliberately or not deliberately, but because I was dealing a lot with peers and friends, and we had those kind of relationships where we tell each other the truth. And at that time also is when I was becoming very involved with church. So, and some older people took interest in me, and so there was this discipleship, and so these feedback loops, you know, people kind of exposing that blind side that I talked about within the Johari window. These are things that other people know about you, but you don't know about yourself. So it really exposes some of your, some of the gaps. You think you know, but you don't. We used to make jokes with some friends because we grew up on the east side of Nairobi. And you know, now SCAD exposed us to this other side of Nairobi. We traveled around the country. So it really exposes your biases, your understanding of different cultures, some truths or things that you held as truths as you were growing up sometimes.
They're challenged.
They're normally challenged. And this is very important because then you become very aware. When I'm talking to anyone, it gives you have to be contextually aware, so that you don't just say anything and think that it will land the same way as where you're used to, and so forth. So I think those feedback loops and then the exposure to diverse perspectives, those two things, I think were the key things that really kind of helped me in this self-awareness journey. And I like, you know, there are a lot of things when you go online, you will read about self-awareness and self-esteem. But I used to like when teaching these young people, at that time my peers, about issues to do with drugs and things, I looked at my personal journey and, you know, kept asking myself, what would be real, you know, what is authentic, you know, what is authentic about me that I can use as an example and, you know, teach younger people. And this is the same approach I take with the ropes class, so that I'm not completely academic with how I'm teaching it, but really I'm using my life experience and marrying that now with, you know, with the text and helping young people just trying to figure out how they grow up and how they deal with the different challenges. Because one thing about some of these things, like self-awareness, it's almost like emotional intelligence. You don't, you know, you're not born with it. You learn as you go. You keep improving as you go, and as long as you open your heart to learn, as long as you're open for correction and things, that is how you keep growing.
Oh, okay. I know we talked about sort of the importance of self-awareness, but I'm wondering, in terms of the impact, I mean, it may seem, you know, sort of the same thing, but what's the impact of one growing in self-awareness, and how has that looked like in your life? And also, I would now be more interested, especially in your professional life, how has that played a big role in shaping the kind of person you've become today?
Yeah, that's interesting, because in terms of impact, obviously, you know, I have to say that people will give you different views on this, but for me, I think one of the key things, and again, as I was reflecting about this session, I kind of jolted something down. There's something about creating stronger relationships. And stronger relationships, why? Because self-awareness fosters empathy. You learn that everyone is on a journey. And so you're not better than anyone. So you create stronger relationships. In your professional life, it reduces that defensiveness. So you're open to correction.
Just pause a moment there. So part of why we are so defensive, you know, somebody gives you feedback and, you know, you're just pushing back. Part of that has to do with, so to speak, a gap in self-awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it has to do with not being comfortable in correction. You know, you're not comfortable. You've not really made peace with the fact that you're not all-knowing. You know. So probably a junior at work or someone that you perceive
don't
as
rank highly.
highly, yeah. They say something, then you wonder, on what strength are you telling me all this? Again, self-awareness really now gives you more comfort in understanding that sometimes, it's not about the messenger, it's about the message. It's more about, understanding that you still have gaps, even with your expertise at work and so forth. So I think that lack, just opening up yourself for correction, not being defensive when a criticism is made and so forth, that is part of what I'm saying kind of builds and helps stronger relationships even at work.
Okay.
Because even with your juniors or people who are at the same level or your bosses, they actually know that this is an approachable individual and, I can go and seek correction. I can go and ask questions and they won't get tired of, helping me through my work-life journey. Another thing is really it helps with better decision making. So knowing your values, your biases, your motivations, your weaknesses really helps you to be more objective when you're making decisions, generally in life, but mostly at work. So you probably understand this issue of delegation and because the fact that you're probably a boss at work or you have some senior position or whatever at work, does not mean that you know everything. Yeah. So sometimes you have to rely on someone else who has a better expertise in a specific area, and you actually give them or you follow their lead on specific areas and so forth. So I think generally in terms of work, in terms of life, there is the issue about stronger relationships, better decision making, increased accountability and growth, enhanced leadership and influence, because leadership is more about influence, is more about being able to motivate people in a certain direction and so forth. And then like I mentioned earlier, greater authenticity and confidence. And then obviously there are these reduced cognitive biases. And
That's a big word there.
Big
words. Cognitive bias.
Yeah. So you see, when you're aware of personal biases in your mind, when you're thinking to yourself and talking to yourself, if you're aware of those biases, then it really helps you deal with situations better, even at work or in life and so forth. So, or helps you get out of situations that will probably emotionally trigger you or make you react badly to a situation. So I think those are some of the things that I would say are some of the impacts of being better self-aware of yourself, or really as you continue to learn in this journey of self-awareness.
I think last week I was having a conversation with someone still on this show, and part of what came about was even being aware of your sort of blind spots and weaknesses, and not letting those stand in the way, so to speak, of what you would like to achieve. But I want us to pick that conversation. But before we do that, I want us to listen to a clip, because, and this clip communicates that. It's in terms of being so self-aware and seeing your role and your part in everything that you do. So it's a famous clip, it's about people that are building, and one just sees theirs as a mere task of laying bricks, but the other one sees the bigger picture, that I am actually building a cathedral. So let's listen to this clip and then we come back. But I am urging you to send in your questions, your comments, your feedback as we talk about self-awareness today. How well do you know yourself? Do share with us, and even how your journey has been on self-awareness. But for now, this is how we build a cathedral.
Once, a man walked through a construction site. He watched 3 workers laying bricks. He asked each of them the same simple question: "What are you doing?" The first said, I'm laying bricks. It's tough work, but it pays the bills. The second replied, I'm building a wall. It's just part of my job. But the third, he smiled and said, I'm building a cathedral. At Family Media, we understand this story. We're not just laying bricks either. We are building a place of hope, a place where faith is restored, where children learn God's love, where stories of transformation go out 24/7. We are building a cathedral through media. But we are not building it alone. You, our partners, are helping us lay every brick.
Family allows us to be partners, yeah? Whether you're giving 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000, a million, you can be part of the family. There's a need in today's world for people to hear this gospel, and there's no better space than media.
Every gift, every prayer, every encouragement is part of something eternal.
It will touch me every time you're told that you listen to it because somebody else gave. Some are called to be apostles. In that line of calling, we are also called to take Jesus to the airwaves.
Thank you for seeing beyond the bricks. Thank you for seeing the cathedral. Thank you for choosing to build with us, soul by soul. Together, let's keep building with purpose, with faith, and with joy. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Back, and indeed here at Family Media, we are building a cathedral through media where God's word will continue to be propagated even as we keep Jesus on the airwaves. And you can join us in the building of this cathedral by being one of our partners. So feel free to send an SMS with the word partner to 20316 and somebody will get back to you. We're talking about self-awareness today here on Motivation Monday, where we aim to bring you challenging conversations and inspiring stories. And so Mr. Daniel Ayelabola is helping us with this conversation. So let's get right to it. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'd alluded before we listened to that clip about this idea of knowing yourself, so much that you even know, whether it is biases, but also weaknesses. Because I think the nature of a human being is you have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And, taking advantage of your strengths, but also working on your weaknesses in a manner that they do not stand in the way of you achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve. How have you seen that play out, especially in terms of this, what I would like to call overcoming self, where now you can be your own inhibition just because of certain weaknesses?
Yeah, interesting. There is one of the big schools, boys' schools, in Kenya. I won't mention the name, but their motto is Jishinde Ushinde. And it's it's very interesting because
Jishinde Ushinde in English, because I know we have an audience who do not know Swahili, that is conquer yourself to conquer, I think loosely
to
translated.
Win, yes. Yeah, so actually I think self-awareness has a lot to do with that. It really has a lot to do with understanding that discipline is delayed gratification for the greater good in the future and so forth. There's a lot to do with that. And I think why self-awareness is important is, like you mentioned, the issue of biases and weaknesses are really important for you to know. So that you're focused more on helping, you're focused more on playing out your strengths, playing out, some of your good traits and diminishing some of the weaknesses, being aware and diminishing them so that they, but you have to be aware for you to do. So for example, while in high school and as a young person, I was exposed a lot to issues to do with alcohol, issues to do with drugs, and so forth. And when you're young, sometimes the belief, the belief is that everyone is doing it. It's the fun way.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have a party without alcohol or so forth. And at that time, obviously, a lot of my belief system was really around that. But like I mentioned, joining, you know, this group that I joined immediately after high school, I really thank God for it, because I think at that point is when I started understanding that really it is possible to have fun without some of these things. It is okay to have struggles and weaknesses, because you talk a lot, you discuss with people, both casually, informally, but also informal kind of sit-downs and settings, and you realize, kumbe, I'm not the only one who is struggling with this specific thing, and so forth. So I think in my personal life, how it has played out is really about being very aware of those biases, those weaknesses, knowing my background. For example, one thing that we've realized is that, for example, in a family, if there is a history of alcoholism, the likelihood is that that will continue. But you see, if you're very aware of that kind of situation in your family, then you probably, you know, won't be drawn into the peer pressure you know, with someone who's saying, let's just go have one drink and so forth, because you know, if you taste how it trips you compared to someone else who probably doesn't have that history. So we're all on while we are on this journey of life together, you're still on an individual journey, and understanding that you know, your individual history, understanding yourself as a person, understanding your triggers, understanding what motivates you, really helps you marry your individual journey with that of everyone else. And so you're able to deal with situations. And you can, you know, now, if you have this history of alcoholism in your family, for example, and as compared to someone who has the same history but hasn't quite reflected and thought about it. You know, it is very easy for this person to strongly say no when, you know, when friends are trying to get them into doing something as compared to this other one. Because you know why you're saying no. You know, if I try this thing, where it will take me is, and the person who is asking you to take that drink or whatever, they don't know why you're saying no.
They don't know what you know.
So there's a fortitude you have in your head as compared to any other young person who is probably just saying no because it is, you know, alcohol is not good or whatever is not good. There has to be some more grounding to really help you navigate some of these things. And then for many people would have a defining moment. This issue about self-awareness normally also helps you to reflect on some of these defining moments. So for example, a defining moment could be that you now have a baby. You know, you got a child. Or you, so for example, for me, my elder brother had an accident in 2015 and sadly passed on.
Oh, Paula.
And you know, my brother, however good he was in business, in his interactions with others within the neighborhood, and he was really, you know, a guy who you'd enjoy to be around. But you see, he struggled with alcohol. And you know, for me, while by the time he passed on, I wasn't drinking alcohol anymore. But when he passed on, that was a real defining moment for me, because then it, you know, it strengthened my position that there is no value in alcohol. There is no value in this thing because. And anyway, let's not go too much into that, but many people have those defining moments. But it takes reflection for you to be able to understand, what does this mean for me? How does this connect with my with my life's journey and so forth. So, you know, basically, I think that's what I would, I would say, especially when it comes to, you know, issues about how self-awareness has played out for me as an individual. And everyone has their own personal journey, everyone has their own personal story. And it's really about reflection and understanding. You see this, especially this morning time of quiet time, when there is no noise, when it is peace. It really, as you're reading the Bible, as you're praying, it helps you to really think. And what is this, how is this lesson I'm reading for me? How does it affect me? And how does it also helps in how you're praying. And
Okay. Now, perhaps somebody is listening and they're like, wait a minute, I'm not even so sure I know myself. And I don't know if it is your experience, but one of the questions that I hated in interviews was, so tell us about yourself. So how can one begin? Is there like a beginning point? Somebody is feeling, I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm seeing the need and the importance and wow, I need to do something, but where do I begin? What would be your advice to someone like that?
So I think knowing yourself is more about being meaningful and intentional. I will go back to the tool that I said we used to use that time. And I think it can start from, you know, a very basic point like that. You just draw on a paper, you know, put 4 quadrants, start with open area. What do I know about myself? What do people know about me? You know, I can sing, I'm a friendly and jolly person, you know, and everyone also testifies about the same about you. Then blind area, sometimes, now this blind area you don't know, but blind area will force you to interact more with people more deliberately. So you don't want friends who are always glorifying you and saying, you know, you're the king when you're kila kitu and so forth. You want also people who are telling you that, hey bro, you have a weakness in this area. So for example, for my dad being a preacher.
Oh, you're a PK?
Yeah, what does PK mean? Like preacher's kid. So being a preacher, my dad is, I think he's very good with public speaking, but there's one challenge he has. He can go off the cuff from what is prepared and go into things that, you know, and I realized that about me. Yeah, I realized that about myself. When I'm speaking, you know, probably to an audience, and I start seeing that they are getting interested in what I'm saying, it sometimes can take you off script. And so one of the deliberate things I do up to this day with my wife or with friends and so forth, I really always ask, how was that? After probably I was leading service or I was giving a talk somewhere and so forth, and I make sure there's someone who is a friend of my wife in the audience, and then I ask, how was that? How is it going? What do I need to change and so forth? But it's really the blind area, you don't know it, but people who are friendly
can help you with that.
Can really help you with that. And then there's this, the hidden area. Is what you know about yourself and others don't know about you. And it could be, as I said earlier, it could be bad habits that you don't want people to know. It could be things within your family that you know, are probably, you know, things that you want to shout about. Or it could be just, you know, things, probably you're a very good singer but you don't have the courage to step out. And so I think a good starting point would be just to list some of those things down that are known to you. Especially the open area and the hidden area. For the blind area, it takes more interaction. And then now there's this unknown area, which is the 4th quadrant. So with continued reflection, prayer, interaction, getting yourself in situations, exposing yourself, normally things will come out about yourself. People will tell you things that you never knew you hadn't. No one, people who are in your circles never, hey, say, hey, Mokaya. So, kumbe, you're a good
singer. Use singer.
You know, are you a, you know, so you can speak very confidently in public. So things come out, and then now, based on, you know, your interactions, then things come from the unknown area or things that you didn't know you had, now move into either the blind, private, hidden or open area.
Yeah.
So I think that is a very basic point to start, but it takes a lot of intentionality. It needs a lot of, not a lot, but it needs reflection. Yeah, and hope, you know, write things down. And,
So if I'm hearing you right, there's something I'm hearing that I think then is important, the importance of a community.
Oh, yes.
That it is extremely difficult to be self-aware if you're operating solo, if you walk in isolation.
Very true.
Having people around you that love you, that care for you, is actually an important thing.
Oh, very important. In fact, when we were much younger playing football, our coach used to say, you don't give birth to yourself, you won't marry yourself, and you won't bury yourself. And he used to say that in the context of, you need people around you.
Yeah.
Never think that you can go through life or get through situations by yourself. We're all here because there is a community that kind of supported us and continues to support us. So I think it is very important to understand that community self-awareness is all about even just how do you portray yourself when you're with others? How do you interact with others? How do you in fact, this article I was talking about, I called it the Golden Gate of Escape. No, it's the Golden Gate of Retreat.
Okay.
The Golden Gate of Retreat. Yeah, so it really emphasizes interacting with others, dealing with others respectfully, and, you know, just walking this life with others. So the community is very important.
Yeah, all right. Would you say then there are dangers to one not, you know, actively pursuing this whole idea of self-awareness? You know, somebody may feel, what does it matter really? I guess I'm just okay. Are there dangers to not being self-aware?
Yes, so everything we've talked about, put it in the inverse. Yeah, put it in the inverse. So, you'll be averse to feedback, and so you'll always be defensive, always pushing back, not taking criticism. Your interactions with others could be, in fact, let me just read something quickly. Like, people rarely change their minds when shamed. They change when they feel safe enough to reflect. In a world full of shouting matches, what we need are more conversations held with wisdom and tact. This is the power of the Golden Gate of Retreat, a way to disagree without disrespect, a way to persuade without pride. So if you look at the inverse, you know, this will be when you say someone is very egoistic, someone is very proud. What are they espousing that makes people say that about them?
Yeah.
It is probably they don't take feedback kindly, they're always pushing back. And it's not wrong to push back, but at least listen and understand what is the spirit of what you're being told. And also in the workspace, then people will never tell you your weaknesses. People will never give you feedback. And so you're just continuing, but you really can't see your blind side. And who knows where that will lead. So I think looking at everything on the inverse is what a lack of self-awareness. So you get yourself in situations where you're fighting, you get yourself in situations where there's a lot of arguments, or maybe, you know, I mean, there's some extreme things that can, you know, lack of self-awareness can lead to. But I think just look at it in the inverse. And so that self-improvement, that self-growth sometimes can be started without self-awareness.
All right. What other things perhaps would you like to touch on this subject even as we gear towards our close.
Okay, so I think we've just talked about, self-awareness is important. And I think without it, people often repeat destructive patterns. People struggle in relationships, and people generally feel stuck without knowing how to get themselves out of it.
Yeah.
So I think self-awareness is the first step to this intentional living. It helps you reflect better. It helps you. There's an approach, or there's a model to which you approach things. And so my encouragement to everyone who is listening is just take this bold step. Try and write down, what we kind of described earlier. Be more mindful, be more reflective. You may not notice this, but it will help in your general walk with God. It will help you in your general walk with people and within the community. And I believe this is very important, even for society. So, individuals make society. Like, we go out there, you leave your house and you become one of the many that are out there. And so that kind of intentionality in how we react to each other, in how we deal with each other, is very important, even in the general building of society.
I think it's one of the old philosophers, either Plato or Aristotle, that said the unexamined life is not a life worth living. Would you agree with that assessment?
The unexamined life is not a life worth living. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I remember in campus there's a lecturer who I think he used to quote Socrates also and say, all I know is that I don't know. But I think all these things just that just gears towards more intentionality, more humility in understanding that despite how much you know, you still have gaps, you still have weaknesses, you still have biases. And so it just helps you to continually be humble with how you interact with people. There's value in everyone, and there's something for you to learn in every situation.
Wow. I think Edwin here says that self-awareness is a big area of discussion in today's life. Most people, especially the youth, are struggling for lack of self-awareness. Knowing who you are, your weakness and strength will help you conquer the world. I like where our guest said, Jishinde Ushinde. I think where I disagree is we are only limiting this to the youth. There are many who are no longer youth, but simply do not have a sense of self-awareness. Somebody says, I agree, being defensive, running away from reality, and having low self-esteem is simply an effect of lacking self-awareness. Well, thank you for those comments. Well, Mr. Daniel, thank you so much. I think this has been a good conversation.
Oh, yes,
and just you sharing the insights, but also your own personal journey, into these issues of self-awareness. So thank you for taking your time to be with us. Asante sana. All right. Maybe just one question as we close. In your own opinion, when you think of people, figures, popular figures, which person would you argue is, in your own estimation, most self-aware? If you can think of any.
Well, I have some examples that I can think of. So, for example, I know there are many...
It just maybe a few seconds.
Yes. So, for example, Joe Biden, the former president of the US, he really struggled with stammering. And for him, he knew that for me to grow in my leadership and to be a leader, I must deal with it. He didn't run away from it. He didn't try and hide it. He didn't... you can be cowardly and say, then I won't speak in front of people. But for him, I think since a young age, if you read his story, he really had to work on that until he became president of the US. And you can't tell that he has that problem.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you have it. Just the importance of self-awareness. If Joe Biden was so aware of self that he worked on himself, becoming, the president, as some people say, of the most powerful country in the world. I mean, if you agree to that, you also can take advantage of some of these things that we've talked about. And so it is my prayer and hope that you will begin this journey, if you haven't already, to just become more self-aware. If you're already on the journey, let's keep on keeping on. I think the society will be better if we have more people that are self-aware. This is goodbye from us. See you again next Monday as we pick up another challenging conversation and inspiring story. May God help you to be more and more self-aware.